Hello students, welcome back to your Android user interface session number 10. So in the last session we had completed an exercise on relative layout. Then we had studied about some other properties and how to set the child to child dependency and the difference between the child to parent dependency and child to child dependency. So today we'll discuss a little more about more properties about views. When does a view exist and when it is hidden or does not exist. Then we'll study about some custom backgrounds that are there and how can we design backgrounds for different views like button or edit text. How can we design the background or add colors to background that if we need to customize the background color, or how to assign a border, or how to provide a radius or a rounded corner around the view. Then lastly we'll study about different sizes that are of the icons that are used. As we had studied earlier also that in map folder we have different resolutions like XHDPI, MDPI or XXDPI. So how to select the icon size for each resolution. So let's start with the first slide here. So the first slide is the visibility handling in the views. So if we read out the definition, it says the process of hide and show a view inside layout is called visibility effect in Android. So if you want to hide a view for a certain time while coding your while creating your page or writing a code, then how to do that. So if you want to show it afterwards, then that is basically covered in the visibility handling. So according to the visibility, there are three states of a view. So the first one is visible, second is invisible, and third is gone. So basically there are three states in which this visibility can be used. One is visible, invisible, and gone state. So visible and invisible states are pretty self-explanatory, but there could be a confusion between invisible state and a gone state. So let's study what do these states mean with the help of a diagram. So here are the three states that we discussed earlier. One is visible, invisible, and gone. So visible view is pretty self-explanatory, where all the three views are visible to the user in front of the screen. So now we come to the invisible view. So invisible state, we cannot see a view. It is invisible, but it still occupies some space. So this means that the invisible view is still there because it is occupying its space. It is not completely deleted, or it is not completely omitted from the code. But here if you see the gone state, so here the view B is not there and it does not occupy any space also. So that means it is not existing within the code. So this is the difference between the invisible view and the gone view, which is that in the invisible state, the view which is invisible still occupies the space in the code, but in the gone state, the invisible view or the view does not occupy any space. So to understand this better, let's move to the Android Studio and let's create a view. So here we already have a view which is visibility example. So I'll just delete everything here, or we can create a new view. Let's create a new view so that it's the same as what you see on your Android Studio. There is no difference. So for creating a new view, we go to layout resource file, visibility underscore example underscore 2, and we can use a linear layout or a relative layout. It really doesn't matter because we are not focusing on the layout as such, the view group as such, but we are more concerned with how to set the state for the view. So here to set the view, let's first set the introduce a view inside. Let's suppose a button, a width of 100 dp and height of 100 dp as well, and let's write the text inside as A. So now we need to set its visibility. So visibility can be set for a view or a view group. So visibility can be set for any one of them. So it really doesn't matter that the visibility needs to be set for a view only. It cannot be set on a view group, but it can be set on a view group as well. So let's change this orientation to horizontal so that our views are aligned horizontally. This is your second button, this is your third button, and we can change the text to B and C accordingly. So here we'll study about the visibility property, and the focus will be the B button, which is the second view here according to our exercise. So here we'll use the property called visibility. This is a new property that we haven't used before, so this is the first time that we are using this property, visibility. So as soon as you select this, you'll get three options here: gone, invisible and visible. So by default, for any view, the visibility property is set to visible. So like for example, if we set here invisible, now our view is invisible from the front. So we cannot see the B view, but we can see that it is still occupying space. Though it is not visible, we cannot see B button, but it still occupies some space. But if we change the visibility to gone, then we can see that the view is completely removed. So it is no longer occupying that center white space. Now the button, the B button, is totally disappeared. It is not occupying any space. So if I just change it back to visible, then it will again become visible here, and we are able to see this. And if we remove this property also, then also we will be able to see, because the default value is visible for the visibility property. So it's not necessarily that we need to do it on B also, it's just an example. We can do it for A button as well, and if we do it for A button and change this value to invisible, the A button will be hidden now. So we are not able to see the A button, but we are seeing the B and C, but the A button occupies the space. So this is how you can set the visibility for any view which is there on the screen. So this was all about the visibility property, how you can set visibility for various buttons or for various groups, and what is the meaning of invisible and gone, the difference between invisible and gone, and how many types of visibilities are there. So this was a small topic that is very important during the creation of design, because we need to sometimes show or hide view. So this is where we use the visibility property. Going back to our session now and continuing with our next topic, which is XML drawable. So we know that what is drawable. We know that there is a drawable folder in the Android Studio in which we can put some images or we can put some XML drawables also. So going by the definition, it says we can design custom backgrounds with multiple colors, custom border and with rounded corner in XML drawable. So basically we can use it's basically used for making customizations or custom views, like for example a button that we are showing here, a login button with the border, which is the blue border here, and the corners are also rounded a little. So this is done through the drawable, XML drawable. And in our second example here we have an icon which is kept inside a circular view, so which has a border also in a circle only. So to see how it is done, let's go back to our Android Studio. So this is our Android Studio, and for this we'll use the drawable folder here. So to introduce the shape that we want, so we need to go right click on the drawable folder here and go to new. So let's go to the drawable resource file under new. So click here. So this is the file name that you can give, and this is the root element that you need to select. So the root element that you can select our selector, but in our case we are now designing a new shape, so we'll use shape as our root element, and file name can be, let's suppose, a button. So we are designing a button, so let's say button underscore custom, because this is this can be any name that you can provide to a file. It needs to be a unique name though. So if we click OK, so this is how this file will get created here, button underscore custom dot XML. So here we don't see anything in the preview, is because we haven't defined the shape that we want. So if we are designing a button, so let's take a rectangle shape. So for that, let's use shape, shape, and we have 4 default shapes here: line, oval, rectangle and ring. So if we select the rectangle shape, so but still, in spite of providing the shape, we are not able to see any preview here. So in order to do that, we need to introduce a tag, which is a gradient tag or a solid tag. Basically the difference is that you use a solid tag when you need to introduce a single color for the button. But for example, if you want to use multiple colors inside the same view or a button, then you can use the gradient tag. So let's set a gradient for this and close the tag properly. This is how you close a tag, a gradient tag. So for any tag, in fact. So for a gradient tag, there are 3 colors that need to be defined. As I told you earlier, gradient has multiple colors in it. So there is a start color, mid, center color and the end color. So we need to define we can define three colors inside the gradient for providing the gradient effect. So to set the start color, we use the start color property here, and there are the colors that we can choose from. So if we choose from, let's say, a background here, so now we can see that this color fades out as we move forward from left to right. So the start color is this section from the left, and as we move towards the center and the end, the color just fades out and becomes and just merges or submerges with the background color gray. So this is the gradient effect that is taking place, that you are seeing taking place here. So to now we have defined the start color, we can define the end color as well. So to define the end color, we use the end color property. So if we use the same color here, color background, so you can see now we have a similar solid color type of a background, because there is no gradient effect as such now, because the start color and the end color are the same, so they are submerging on top of each other. So to add the third color here, we can use the center color. So if we use the center color as color, take, let's say we use the color accent property here. So the color accent property, value here. So we see that now we have a gradient effect. Now in the center the color accent is prevailing, but at the edges of the center color, the color is mixed with the blue color. So we can define three different colors and provide a gradient effect for each one of them. Also there is another property here that we can use, which is angle. So this is the angle property, and if I define angle as 90, so if you notice now the colors have become aligned vertically. So now they are introduced vertically from top to bottom. So this is how we can define the angle for the gradient. So if we want it from top to bottom, then we can use the angle property. But if we just want a normal from the left to the right horizontal the horizontal gradient, then we can just remove this angle property and we can just use it horizontally, because the horizontal orientation is the default orientation for the gradient. So if you don't want to give the angle, then it will be aligned horizontally by default, which is the first color, the second color and the third color. But if you give the angle property and set it to 90, then your first color, second color and third color will be arranged vertically like this. So if we now try to use this, if you want to use this button underscore custom XML file as a color for in our example here. So this was our example where we can just remove the visibility for now. So let's set the color in the center button by using background property, background, and it's in the drawable folder, so we need to remember that, drawable and button custom. So now you can see the color that we had defined in our button custom. We are able to define that in our view in the button B. And if we change our color here, let's change our color accent to some other color, let's say yellow. So, and if we go back to our example, so now you can see that the change is being reflected in the view here in the B button. So it really depends on the color that you've chosen for the three colors, the start color, end color and the center color. According to that, your button will acquire, or the view will acquire your the colors. So now, having learned about how to introduce the background, custom background, there are sometimes requirements from the clients which in which we need to slightly round the edges. So currently, as you can see, the edges are sharp. They are pretty at a 90-degree angle. So all four edges are at a 90-degree angle to each other. So sometimes the clients want, or the application demands, that the radius or the edges is curved rather than sharp. So let's see how to do that. So to see that, let's just remove our three buttons here, and let's introduce another view. Let's say edit text, and width as match parent and height as, let's say, 50 or 40 dp, which is default. So keep it as 40 dp, and we can give the margin from top, let's say around 10 dp. So, and hint we can set as let's say name, and we can give padding left to the hint of, let's say, around 8 dp, 8 dp padding. And this margin can be kept as from the four sides. So let's say complete margin from all four sides. So margin as 10 dp. So this is your edit text view, and let's provide this with a background that we've just introduced in our that we've just shown created here in our butter_custom XML file here. So for that, let's say background, it's in the drawable folder, and button custom is the name of the background. So we'll define the same colors that we find here, which is, for the background we'll take pale yellow color or a yellow color, and for the border we'll take the blue color. So in order to do that, we'll have to introduce the colors here. So we'll have to define the color yellow for our gradient so now we have defined the background color here, and also we need to define the border color. So to set a radius, to set a border, we use a term called stroke. So stroke is basically your tag that you need to use, and you need to define the color also for the stroke. So the color can be color background. So once you do it, you'll notice that you won't be able to see it currently. So the reason is that stroke actually depends on the width of the width size. So basically we need to define the width of a stroke, only then it will be visible. So if we define the width as 3 dp, so now if you zoom in here, now you'll be able to see the stroke around the background color yellow, and the color is defined here for the stroke color background. So that is how you can define the width of the stroke in order to see the stroke around the background color. So if we go back to our visibility example here, we'll be able to see that now we have a border around our view and the background color has changed to yellow. So this is how we can define the border and the background color for a view and then introduce it directly using the background property. So having done this, now we need to round the corners as it has been done here in the example. So in order to do that, let's go back to our XML file custom button underscore custom, and here we introduce another tag called the corners. So this is the corners tab, and here we need to define how much radius that we want for the corners. So if we want, let's say, a radius of 5 dp, so let's define as 5 dp. So as soon as you do it, you'll notice that the corners have become rounded. So if we need to round them more, we can use 9 dp. So now the corners are rounded even more, and this can be seen in our example here as the view corner, the border has become a little rounded from the edges. Otherwise it was perpendicular to each other at 90 degree. Now there is a radius around the border. But if you want, in some cases there could be a possibility that you want just the top 2 corners being rounded. So then you'll have to make modifications here. So you'll have to you need to learn how to make those modifications. I'll just show you. So in order to do that, we have to not define the radius for all 4 corners, but radius for only the top left corner and the top right corner. So for the top left corner it's 9 dp, and for the top right radius it will be 9 dp. So the radius will only be for the top 2 corners. If you see here, the radius is only for the top 2 corners here, but not for the bottom corner. So the bottom corners are perpendicular and sharp, while the top 2 corners are rounded. So this is how you can give different you can give each edge or each corner its own radius. And if we see this in actual application, then this is how the view will look like now. So the view looks like something like this. So the top 2 corners are rounded and the bottom 2 corners are straight. So this is how you can control each corner for the view. So the main advantage of using this is basically when we need to design custom views, then we can do it through code. We don't need to actually use images or get images from the designers, because we can introduce radius, background, color in our in our XML file here and use it directly in our view here. So we don't need to use different resolution images from the designers, so we can use it directly here. So there is no question of any pixelation for higher resolution screen phones. So this is the main advantage of it, and also we can put it on any view possible, any view, and the full background screen as well. The full background screen that you see here in the white, we can use the same view or the same the application here that we have used for the whole view background also. Just to reiterate my point, if we increase the height to 400 dp for the view, then also we will not have any issues in pixelation or any distortion in the image, because we have not used an image, we have used the view using through coding. So there is no question of any pixelation or pixels getting broken up on higher screen phones. So let's change it back to 40 dp only. So this is how we can set corner radius for each of the corners and individually, and if you want to set it as in one go, then we can use the radius property, and we can just define the radius value for all the corners. So this was about how to set the radius for each corner or for different corners, for all corners together. But in certain cases there are requirements where the image is a rectangle, sorry, the view is a rectangle view, but the corners are completely cut off. So in that case, let's just see what we need to do in order to recreate that. So for that, we don't need to define each corner. For that, what we can do is radius, and we can just give it as the maximum value, which can be 100 sp. So this is how the corners will get completely cut off if you use 100 sp as the radius value. So if we see our example here, so now the left side and the right side are completely rounded. So this is how we can completely round or completely eliminate the corners from the sides, from the left top corner, right corner, and bottom right corner and bottom left corner. So if we see our screen here, we've talked about this view in depth, about how to use a view and how to make the edges rounded and set the border color, set the background color. So we can do the similar thing with this view as well, but how to introduce this shape? So let's see in our Android Studio. Let's go to our button custom. So in this we have used the rectangle shape, but we have other shapes as well: line shape, oval shape, ring shape. So basically we'll be using the oval shape here and not the ring shape. The reason is that the ring shape is basically hollow, so it will only have a border around it, it will have nothing inside of it. So we need to use the oval shape, which will be filled from the inside. So that is why we'll use the oval shape. So here we don't need the corners because the shape itself is circular or doesn't have any corners. So, and we can keep the stroke because of the border. And let's see how this shape takes into effect here. So here you can see that it has taken an oval shape by default because of the oval value used for the shape here. So this is how, for any view, if you define the shape as oval, this is how it will look. But now let's see what happens when you use gravity and set it as center. Sorry, only not layout gravity, but just gravity as center. So the text will move to the center now, and if we define the height and width for this view, then let's see what will happen. So let's give this view as like 200 dp and match parent as well as 200 dp. So the view becomes circular. So this is how you create a circular view. So this is the reason why we have used the same layout, width and height the same, is because a circle will always have the same diameter across vertically as well as horizontally. So that is why we need to use the width and height same. So if we do something similar, rather than in a edit text view, we use the image view. So if we use the image view, the name hint gets hidden or disappeared because image view does not support the hint property. It supports the source property. So src source. So let's use the drawable folder for our image. So let's see if we have some images here. So we used the vector icons of email and log, so we can use just any one of them. So here we can see that the edges are touching the view here, and if we just remove the padding here, so now all four edges of the vector icon are touching the our view from the inside. So in that case, if we use padding for the view and keep the value at, let's say, 12 dp, so in that case the view gets reduced, the vector icon gets reduced in size, and now it completely fills in the view from the inside. It is no longer touching it, so the area gets reduced of the vector icon. So here let's reduce it to 16, and then we can see, or in fact let's reduce it more to 25, and now we can see that the area has really reduced. So this is really helpful when we need to design or we need to set an icon inside an image view, or we need to set an image view inside a circular view. So this is how we can define the image view inside a circle. So this was all about our custom view, how to create a custom view, how to create a custom shape, and how to apply that shape to a view, and how to insert an vector icon inside that shape, and how to adjust that vector icon. So this was all about that. So having done this, let's move to our next topic in session here, which is iconography. So iconography is basically the usage of icons according to the sizes. So now there are different sizes, screen sizes, resolutions, and different resolutions and screen sizes want for different icon size. So how to define an icon size according to the different sizes that are out there. So this is what we'll study in iconography. So here we can see the different type of icons that are out there. One is the launcher icon, then notification icon, then action and tab icon, and then contextual icons. So the launcher icon is basically your icon which you click on your phone screen to launch your app. So that is the launcher icon in Android. So the size for that launcher icon according to the resolution is given here. So for MDPI resolution we need 48 pixels. For HDPI resolution we need 72 pixels, and for XHDPI we need 96 pixels. For XXHDPI we need 144 pixels, and for XXHDPI we need 192 pixels. So what this is basically the multiplication factor according to the resolution. So MDPI is your one factor, so that means that 48 pixel is your one factor. For HDPI you just multiply 1.5 with your 1x factor, which is your 48 pixels, and you'll get 72 pixels here. XHDPI is your 2 times of your 1 factor, so 2 times of 48 is 96, and double X HDPI is your 3x, which is your which is your 144 pixels, 3 times of 48. And similarly triple X HDPI is your 4 times factor of your single factor, which is 48 pixels. So 4 times of 48 is 192 pixels. So these resolutions are basically found in the MIPMAP folder. They are the resolution files for defined inside the MIPMAP folder already by default. So these are the same resolutions here. So according to our table here, the launcher icon is for 1 dp. The launcher icon is for 48 dp, the minimum size, and the notification icon is for 32 dp. Action and tab is 24 dp, and contextual icons are for 16 dp. That is the minimum size. That is the 1x factor size, the minimum size. And if you want to create HDPI, XDPI or triple XDPI, we need to multiply the one factor values by the the minimum values here by the factor values accordingly. So for example, we need to convert this 32 dp notification icon for double X HDPI. We just simply multiply it by 3 times and we get our double X HDPI size, which is 96 pixels. So before going forward, let me just explain what are the different type of icons here. Basically the launcher icon we have talked about, that is the icon that we click on the screen to launch an application. And notification icons are basically those small icons. When you receive a notification, there is a small icon on the side, on the left side, that is your notification icon, denoting from which application or for which application the notification is for. Action and tab icon we'll discuss in detail later on, but for now the action and tab icons are basically your icons used on the tab bar. So action and tab bar are tab bar icons are basically used in the tab bar, and action icons are used basically all over your screens for various functions like searching, going back, and normal drawer menu icons. So those type of icons are your action and tab bar icons. Then contextual icons are basically your icons that you require for a particular application, which are used only for that application. They are not universal icons, but they are only used for particular application. For example, some client needs a particular icon for filtering, so that will be a contextual icon. So then we'll have to get it made. So also here, if you notice that there is a line written here that in DPI 1 dp is equal to 1 pixel. So 1 dp for 1 pixel means that 48 dp for a launcher icon means in DPI resolution that it is equal to 48 pixels. And 32 dp becomes 32 pixels. Similarly, 24 dp becomes 24 pixels, and 16 dp becomes 16 pixels. So here is the calculation that I already explained, that for the launcher icon for HDPI, this is the HDPI resolution and 1.5 is the multiplication factor. So the launcher icon size is 48 dp or pixels in MDPI, and for HDPI the multiplication factor is 1.5. So 48 multiplied by 1.5 is 72, and for the notification icon in HDPI it will be 48 pixels, and for the action icon it will be 24 multiplied by 1.5, 36 pixels, and for the contextual icon for in HDPI will be 24 pixels. So this is how you calculate various sizes of icons according to this resolution of the screen. The bigger your screen, the more resolution it will be, and then according to the resolution you'll have to depend on which size of icons you are actually choosing for the application. Also here, one thing you can notice here is that every alternate icon size is basically twice of its previous size. So basically 48 pixels, the alternate size is the 2x HDPI, which is double of 48, 96. 72 pixels, and this is HDPI, and double x HDPI is 144 pixels. So every alternate icon size is double of its previous alternate size, sorry. So this is another thing that you can keep in mind in order to remember the icon sizes. So this is how you can calculate various icon sizes according to the screen resolution. So you'll have to keep this in mind, because while conveying the size for an icon, you'll have to convey the right size to the designer in order to create that icon of the correct size, so that it fits into the application perfectly. So let's revise what we've done today. So today we've seen how to handle the visibility of views. So how to use the visible view, invisible view, and gone view. What is the difference between the invisible view and the gone view, and how to implement them. So this is what we started in the first part, and then this was the exercise that we did for checking the visibility of a view, how to provide the visibility, how to provide the invisible visibility, and how to provide the gone visibility. And the default visibility of any view is the visible value. Then we came to the XML drawable, where we defined custom backgrounds. We used the gradient background in order to define 3 different colors in a background and use that in our view. And also how to use the radius, how to add the border and the color, and how to add the radius to a particular background, and also how to create a rectangular background, how to create a circular background or an oval background. So we learned how to use XML drawables and define different custom backgrounds in XML drawable. And then we studied about various sizes of icons that are there, and what are the resolution screen size, different resolution screen size, and what are the different sizes for each resolution size for different type of icons, and how many different type of icons are there, and what is the basic size of each icon. So this is all about today's session that we had to cover. So in the next session we'll talk about different elements and how can we introduce different elements and what are their properties, and how to use what you have studied today in our next exercise. So if you want to go through the study material, there is a study material attached with this video. In fact, there is study material attached with every video with examples, so you can use those examples in order to practice at your own in your own free time, so that you get a better grasp of things. And for today, this was all the topics that we had to cover. So let's see you in the next session. Thank you so much.